Hello, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Warren Gatland has named his Wales squad to take on Ireland in the first game of the Six Nations this weekend. It's full of experience, it's full of continuity, two things that at this moment in time make a lot of sense for Wales. But I think, having a little look at some reaction to the team news, there are a lot of Wales fans out there that are a little bit frustrated about some of the selections. So I'm going to go into all of that in this video. If you're new here, do subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be trying to upload as much content as possible throughout the Six Nations, so make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and also drop a comment down below. In particular, Wales fans, what do you make of this first bit of team news since Warren Gatland returned to being head coach of the national side? Really looking forward to hearing from you, and let's get into it. So just some headlines for you in terms of that Wales team. No Liam Williams. That's because Warren Gatland in his press conference has said Liam Williams basically has been injured. He hasn't been able to train properly. So Leigh Halfpenny starts at fullback, although Halfpenny also has a tight hip as well. So there is a chance, I think, that Liam Williams comes back into this team depending on the health of Leigh Halfpenny. And he definitely, obviously still has a future in the side. It's more just to do with injury, meaning he hasn't trained as much as they would have liked. And the two main takeaways, as I said in the intro, are experience and continuity, and I think that is what Warren Gatland has pretty much come out and said is the reason behind this team selection. 952 caps in the starting 15. You've got three players with over 100 caps in George North, Dan Biggar and Alun Wyn-Jones. And I also saw Russ Petty on Twitter, the rugby stats man, puts up lots of interesting stats on there. Basically said 8 of the Wales 23 played in the 2012 Six Nations opener. So it is a squad that Warren Gatland knows, I think, for the most part, what he's going to get out of it. It's players that he trusts. There are some younger guys in there as well, but it's mainly about experience. And I think aside, when you think of Ireland, the #1 team in the world, many people's favourites for the Six Nations, coming into Cardiff on the opening weekend, which is going to be sold out. It will be a great atmosphere. It's a Wales side that have the nous and the knowledge to try and get themselves into the final 20 minutes of that test match, still in touching distance, still with the result uncertain. I think that's part of the reason why Warren Gatland has chosen so many experienced players. And the other part I mentioned in the intro was continuity. 12 of the starting 15 play for the Ospreys, who are comfortably the best Welsh region this season. We've seen that in the Champions Cup. They have one of their best scrums in the URC. I previously did a video on this channel reacting to Warren Gatland's squad when he first announced it for the Six Nations. And I kind of raised the query about Wales's scrum needing to be a lot better. When I saw them in the autumn and I was commentating on the Argentina and the Georgia games, it was an area where they really struggled. And in particular, there was a real drop-off in the latter part of those games as well. And I know that was the same for the Australia match as well. But the Ospreys have one of the best scrums in the URC, and I'll get into that when I get into the team now. But that's kind of the general thoughts, the overall thoughts on this squad. So the team starting in the front row, it's Gareth Thomas, Ken Owens and Thomas Francis. Adam Beard and Alun Wyn-Jones in the second row, with Jack Morgan, Justin Tipperick and Talupe Faletau the back row. Thomas Williams is the scrum half, with Dan Biggar at fly half. Joe Hawkins and George North in the centres, with Rio Dyer, Josh Adams and Leigh Halfpenny the back three for Warren Gatland. The bench, Scott Baldwin, Rhys Carre, Dylan Lewis, Daffyd Jenkins, Tommy Raphael, Rhys Webb, Owen Williams and Alex Cuthbert. So as I said, the Ospreys have the best scrum in the URC. It is pivotal that Wales improve in that area. So Gareth Thomas and Thomas Francis, no real surprise there. Ken Owens is going to captain Wales for the first time, which I think is a choice that will make sense to a lot of people in terms of why he's been selected as captain. And you look at the replacements on the bench as well. Dylan Lewis is there. Rhys Carre is a guy who's coming back into the fold, who big body in there. I think he's one of the better scrummagers, even though you lose some of maybe what other players might bring around the park. But yeah, I think that's a big area for Wales. Be interested to see how they go in terms of the props, the front row and the replacement. Adam Beard and Alun Wyn-Jones. Alun Wyn-Jones is going to be the big contention, I think, for a lot of Wales fans who say it's time for him to move on. Warren Gatland has said they're looking, I think, to get 40 minutes, maybe 50 minutes out of Alun Wyn-Jones, empty the tank and then bring on some younger legs to finish off the game as that kind of impact substitute. I must admit, I understand frustrations for people that are maybe saying Alun Wyn-Jones shouldn't be there. We know what he's done one of the most decorated international rugby players of all time, a leader, a legend. But I maybe would have quite liked to see Daffyd Jenkins in there, for example, to start rather than being on the bench. And then even maybe a Chris Chunza on the bench who can cover the back row and the second row as well, rather than Alun Wyn-Jones being there. But going back to my earlier points of having experience coming up against a brilliant Ireland side, then you can understand why Alun Wyn-Jones is there. And in fact, even me having said that, you wouldn't be surprised if he goes out on the weekend, wins man of the match, and everyone's thinking, how on earth can he be performing this good at this level, this close to 40? We'll wait and see how it goes, but maybe I would have liked to see Daffyd Jenkins come in and Chris Chunza on the bench. In the back row, Jack Morgan, Justin Tipuric and Taulupe Faletau. Really pleased to see Jack Morgan in there. Got a good try-scoring record in his last few games of the autumn. One of the up-and-comers in that Welsh back row. I think I'm excited to see him play more at international level, particularly in a Six Nations against the Irish, who are such a good side. The battle of the back row is going to be key. And then it's more experience with Tipuric and Faletau. Faletau playing well. Glad to see him in there. Tipuric got quite a lot of criticism during the autumn when he was captain. Admittedly, it went pretty terribly under Wayne Pivac, and that tenure coming to an end. I have seen some people frustrated at that. Maybe they'd like to see Jack Morgan and Tommy Reffell in there in the back row. So, yeah, I don't know. Tommy Reffell coming off the bench with what he can do at the breakdown, winning turnovers, can see the logic there, the impact that he might have. But I know Gatland has spoken about just how competitive I think that back row is going to be. And in the long term, I think even Jack Morgan, Tipuric and Reffell might all be just vying for the 7 position, and we might see someone else come in at 6. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Onto the back, so Thomas Williams at 9, Dan Biggar at 10. Dan Biggar returns. They missed him massively in the autumn. In the same way that Ireland are a completely different team without Johnny Sexton, I think you could make a similar argument for Wales without Dan Biggar. Maybe it's not quite the impact that Sexton has at Ireland, but I just think Dan Biggar's class. I've liked him for the last decade or however long he's been doing it so consistently. I'm really glad to see him back in there. I think he'll make a massive difference in terms of that backline, a Wales backline that struggled to fire really through the autumn. A big reason for that was not having Dan Biggar in there. So good to see him back. Joe Hawkins at 12, just his second cap. He started against Australia towards the end of the autumn, and Warren Gatland said he thought he played really, really well. So he comes in there, not necessarily the kind of Jamie Roberts type inside centre that Warren Gatland used to pick when he was Wales head coach. He's a bit more of a ball player. Certainly, I think that's how Gatland sees him. But he's got vastly experienced George North outside him. So excited to see how he goes there. And then the back three, Rio Dyer, Josh Adams and Leigh Halfpenny. Halfpenny's an interesting one because it's his first start in 19 months. You do wonder how he's going to get on there. And again, he's another one of these guys that I think some of the fans are perhaps a little bit frustrated to see him picked over maybe someone else in that position. But if you think about how important the kicking game is for Ireland in particular, how much they kick the ball, the positional sense and experience of Leigh Halfpenny, I think could be absolutely crucial for the success of this game. The fullback for Wales is going to be key. Liam Williams is a loss because he's so good under the high ball, but I think just his experience and his positional sense is the reason that Leigh Halfpenny has been selected, and the reason that if he is playing, it's really not the end of the world for Wales, I don't think. But let me know in the comments down below if you disagree with me there. I was just looking, by the way, because I suddenly had this awful feeling that Josh Adams wasn't starting on the right wing when something's nagging you in the back of your mind, but he is there. And Rio Dyer as well, guy that came in the autumn, bags of pace. I think he's a good option to have if that game breaks up, if he gets an opportunity. Obviously, Lewis Rees-Zammit unavailable at the moment. So again, excited to see Rio Dyer go, and Josh Adams is just one of those reliable, really top quality standard international wings. I think you know what you're going to get from him. So again, that's a selection that makes sense. I've kind of touched on the bench already. Scott Baldwin comes back in. I've mentioned Rhys Carre and Dylan Lewis. Daffyd Jenkins I'd quite like to see starting, and Tommy Reffell, who you know what you're going to get, is such an exciting player. What he can do at the breakdown, what he does for Leicester Tigers in the Premiership is exceptional. And then it's Rhys Webb covering 9. He's back in. Owen Williams and Alex Cuthbert. I perhaps would have quite liked to see Mason Grady instead of Alex Cuthbert, possibly. What is he, like 6'6" or something, Mason Grady? A big, strong lad. And I would have perhaps like to see him instead of Cuthbert. Again, maybe you just want that experience. And I've just heard so much about Mason Grady without actually being able to see too much of him. So would have liked to see him in there, but that's the Wales team. That's what Warren Gatland has gone with. I think regardless of whether you agree with the selections or not, the thought process and the reason for those selections makes sense. It depends whether that is going to be enough to get Wales in contention against Ireland. I don't think it will be as easy a game for Ireland as many people are predicting. I think it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere. I think if Wales can stay in it until the hour mark, then who knows, that might set up an incredibly exciting 20 minutes. And even there's just part of me in the back of my mind, despite Ireland being world number one, despite them being many people's favourites for the Six Nations, there's something about the Principality, a home test match in Cardiff for Wales. These are the sorts of games they can throw something up at you. So who knows what's going to happen. As I said, drop in the comments. What do you make of this 23 for Warren Gatland and this Wales side? Leave a comment on the video, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.